This is an old game that I love. This is a very old game that I truly love watching. Not watching, but playing. I'm gonna put the videos that I'm reacting to in the description below once everything is done. But here's the thing: this game that I'm going to watch, that we're going to watch a video on, it's one of my utmost favorite RPG games that I always come back to. It's called Two Worlds. Now, not a lot of people like it, but there is a cult following when it comes to this. Two Worlds is one of those very unique games to where you literally would have to sit down and give it a chance to see if you really do enjoy it or not. This game came out literally during the time of Oblivion, and it was supposed to be a competitor for Oblivion. And what's funny is that it even said it in the back of the case. It's funny because I remember it. It says it on the back of the case. It's Oblivion on steroids. It was advertised as the Oblivion killer. Like, it was funny. It was really funny that how they advertised this game was extremely funny. But I played the game because I was in an era in my life to where I was playing nothing but shooters, but I wanted to play something new. I wanted to get into different genres, and so RPGs was one of those genres that I wanted to get into. So I actually picked up this game back on Xbox 360. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it.
2000s, as we have already explored on the channel, was filled with RPG gems and some bonkers outings within the genre. Not just that, but also including some titles that are still highly praised and enjoyed this very day, with a standout title of course being
But yeah,
The Elder
Fable.
Scrolls Oblivion, an RPG that not only is a classic, but also showcased some of the most unintentional humor the genre has to offer.
Farewell.
But not a year later, a game was released to take on Oblivion as one of the best RPGs of the time, but end up actually trading blows for its skill in random acts of hilarity. A title that when booting up I was convinced would
this
never even
game,
come close,
here's the
rivaling
thing.
Oblivion for its crown.
Hold on, wait.
Oh, it looks hard.
This is what the game looks like, right?
Oh shit! He's coming. He's oh.
Stranger in Telmont? You
What-
are a brotherhood man, eh?
Dude, so many times that happened to me in game to where I get stuck by an interaction while I'm getting chased by either an NPC or a monster, and I just die because of that. That is always hilarious to me. But that's basically what the game looks like. The game ran horrible on Xbox 360. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It ran horrible. This game back on Xbox 360 was the first game I've ever experienced not being optimized well enough. There would be so much happening to where the game would literally pauses, the game will freeze. And then once the game freezes, like, you will see like a spinning CD icon, I think at the left bottom corner of your screen, basically for the game to catch up. And then after it catches up, the game resumes, and it does that a lot on Xbox, on the Xbox 360 back in the day. It doesn't do that now, from my experience on PC. It doesn't really do that now, but on Xbox, it was crazy. It was crazy, but it was still a fun game nonetheless. It did added a lot of elemental stuff, like different elements that Oblivion didn't do. Magic customization was one of them. Magic customization and weapon customization was one of them. But you know, we'll see.
Okay, this has to happen. Today, my friends, we take a journey into the utterly ridiculous Two Worlds. The game opens with an epic narration introducing the story of the world, becoming infested following the death of an orc god. A narration that sounds like James Earl Jones, but I couldn't find him credited anywhere for some reason.
The death of Azeroth. The continent became infested with the taint.
If that is him, that'll be why. Yes, the malevolent force infecting the land is named the Taint. I'm sure a name that did not lead to anyone getting fired, and definitely one that I won't be getting a whole bunch of mileage out of during this video. We join our hero, traveling with his sister who has fallen on hard times.
It is just a flesh wound. We must ride on.
and while investigating the area, returns to find her shockingly missing. After a time, our hero receives a letter from seemingly his sister's captors, ordering us to...
I'm gonna just tell you guys right now, the story is really not that great. The story is not great, but it is still a very fun game to play nonetheless. It is a very fun game to play, even though the story is not the best. The story can be better, but it's still a fun game, okay? It has a really good multiplayer system.
meet with them here in Thalmold.
'Tis the harvest season here now.
It still looks like that.
Bountiful this year. Sadly, not all will be able to rejoice with us.
Good day to you. Are you the village elder?
Not before getting our first task of clearing out a nearby ruin, acting as more of a quickfire tutorial, giving us a chance to flail our sword around with some melee combat, and loot some containers for our adventure. With our hero's comments on entering the battle, a small glimpse into just how strange things we're about to get with our time with this RPG.
Looks like my in-laws.
With some supplies obtained, we are stopped by one of the townsfolk, who
it's so
informs us that
funny.
a tough stranger was seen nearby looking to seek us out.
Mayhap a friend of yours? No, but he has something for which I have searched for a long, long time.
Along with the clearly world-beating acting performances, what was enjoyable early on was the American delivery of Middle English, giving the whole situation a feeling of an out-of-control, over-budgeted Ren fair.
Forsooth, 'twas generous. but
It
he
kind of
always
makes you
lost the
feel
chance to
like
save money.
you're
Making
in
our way
a
into the game's
Renaissance
first
fair.
settlement, we get a chance to catch up with some of the locals, as well as pick up a couple of quests. Two Worlds, just like its frequently compared competitor Oblivion, offers both main and a variety of side quest opportunities while playing through the game. As well as we saw earlier, that during conversations the action does not pause, giving way to a whole host of mid-conversation shenanigans.
Yeah, this happens all the time, man. This happens literally all the time. It even has an
However, Amy is
arrow.
still looking for a piece of our hero, along with other things.
I will think about it. I will think about it.
Seeking out the mysterious hooded sender of the letter, we are told to collect all the pieces of a lost relic. from
Apparently,
Bloodline,
the
and
second
if done, our
game was
sister will
supposed to be
released,
like
and to do so,
what
beginning by
fixes
obtaining
it,
some faster
you know?
transportation by completing a nearby side quest, kindly provided to us by a large hairy chest with a man attached, and getting another chance to experience the game's combat, which even for the time feels awkward and unintuitive on the melee side at least, mostly consisting of getting a hit or two and then leaping back and circling around for another chance. And the fun does not stop there, as upon being granted our first horse, we are greeted with an experience that feels more like a chimpanzee on a wheelbarrow than a noble hero on a steed. Next, we are introduced to the game's fast travel system, unlocked after a short introductory mission given by an old friend, once again getting a dose of the game's odd NPC dialogue.
Farid, I should have known you would end up in a place like this. So the society finally had enough of you, eh?
How true. My future in the society looks bleak.
With some new gear and our main mission confirmed, it was time to venture out into the wider reaches of the game's world, which for the time does pretty well at instilling a feeling of adventure, with an active day-night cycle, an alternating weather system, and frequently featuring smaller settlements of townsfolk and bandits, doing well to add to immersion and flesh out the game's world, just enough to let your guard down.
Yeah, and
before
this
throwing
this
something
game
bonkers
is
back into the mix,
huge.
such
I'm gonna
as
be
a
honest.
bandit leader
This
hurling
game is
threats at our
huge.
hero facing a completely different direction.
You think you can scare me? Die, fool.
There
Or
we
some of the
go.
local wildlife returning to their household after a long day at work for some much-earned rest.
Welcome to our shop. We offer good prices for Brotherhood members.
One thing Two Worlds does well is enjoyment in collecting and slowly.
Dude, that gets me. That gets me so much because like stuff like that happens literally all the time. Those sort of weird things happens all the time in this game. You saw how that pigeon literally just came up and opened the door to a hut and just walk in. That is a normal thing. Like, dude, it is hilarious on how this game came to be. And what's funny is that this game created a cult following, and I'm like part of it. I love this game. I will still say, like, I still say that this game was highly underrated and highly overlooked. And in some aspects, yeah, it is better. It is better than Oblivion, in my opinion, in some aspects.
but I understand why Oblivion was more successful of it at the time, I would say.
Re-upgrading your hero's gear, with a fair amount of options available on defeated foes and hidden throughout the world, with an odd yet highly user-friendly upgrade system, feeding the same types of gear to each other to make more powerful versions. And early on was enjoyable just to...
See, that's what I also liked as well, because that's another thing that I didn't see Oblivion do, to where the whole upgrade system is a bit more simple. It's like if I have 2 of the same bow, or 2 of the same sword or shield or any armor piece, I could combine them both together, and then it will not only increase in the rarity or the level of it, but it will also increase in whatever stats. So if I have a ring, an emerald ring that gives me plus 20 attack, plus a 20% magic damage boost, and 20% movement speed, and I find another emerald ring that will give me, this gives you resistance to magic or resistance to blunt attack or slashing attacks, or it boosts magic resistance or anything like that. You combine it together, and those they stack. That's the good thing about it. It stacks. And it continues to stack until there's literally no more. And that's what I find interesting about it, that Oblivion, I didn't really see Oblivion do. You can also do it with magic as well. There's a healing magic in this game, to where if you have 10 of the same magic skills and you stack them all at once, you can instantly heal yourself if you want to, without using potions, without having to use potions. It may use a lot of your mana points, but you can just drink a mana potion and you'll be good to go, and you will never have to use potions again. You know what I mean? And there's also materials that you can gather and brew together so that you can permanently increase certain stats. And depending on those stats, you can either carry more weight, ride your horse better, swim faster, deal more damage, have more defense, have more health. That's basically it. That's from all of the information that I have. But yeah, it's a really interesting mechanic though, right? Ron, I do not know any other game besides this one that has a mechanic like that. I have no idea what other RPGs have a similar mechanic to this, which is why I'm gonna keep saying in certain aspects this game is better than Oblivion.
Work through some of the side quests just to see what kind of upgrades and new options for gear might be uncovered. I went to somewhat gloss over the sometimes infuriating combat, chasing after archers trying desperately to make contact with the flailing attack animations. Such as its competitor, Two Worlds also features multiple ways to go about its quests, in addition to a reputation system for the game's factions. The whole system feeling a lot more binary than its Elder Scrolls counterpart, but a good addition nonetheless, to bolster immersion and replayability. What's a shame with the game, however, a tad, is the lack of creativity around the quests themselves, for the most part consisting of collecting or killing a number of things rather than anything to get the player thinking. Not too much to handle, but of course that's if you can somehow ignore the game's frequently confusing facial expressions.
Do you have the healing potions?
Why are you looking like that? It's okay if you don't. Did you put them in the toilet again?
Dude. Oh man, these ads, man.
The world's inhabitants themselves are quite...
But I'm telling you, the expressions are hilarious. I'm gonna be honest. They are hilarious, dude. Yeah, they're so bad, man. I don't like the YouTube ads right now. Even on watching YouTube on like regular TV, they'll give you literally 5 ads at once. And there's a skip button, but it'll only skip that ad and go to a next ad. I don't know why it does that. But the expressions so far, they're so funny. They're so hilarious in my opinion. When it comes to how they look and how they want to express themselves, they keep the same face. It's like, wow, you did it. Or like, oh my god, I'm so scared. I'm so happy. Like, they just keep that same face. It's
Inconsistent with their performances, with lines sounding like they're being read by an android that had the cord pulled halfway through downloading the human program.
Do you seek me? Did Hargrant send you? He was right. I could not do it.
Talking from within an invisible phone booth,
God told me of you. Is it true?
dude.
and some flat out just getting details wrong.
I prithee, help me to find my sister.
All clashing against our hero's dialogue,
Yes,
which sounds
dude.
like it'd be more suited in a
Yes,
video covering
dude.
the next Marvel movie.
I have heard this fable from my parents many times.
Like, this game is unintentionally hilarious.
Time ago, but we no longer have it.
That is no way to talk about grandma.
Good morrow, sir. You have the face about you that tells me you're about to carry out the obligatory but annoying call to action to help the channel, to like the video and subscribe, etc.
That's right. For soup. Oh, thank God for that. With a number of levels under our belt, completing a whole host of quests, some beautifully named, such as Bring Me Some Taint, our adventure began taking us
Dude,
some
it's
wider reaches of the
hilarious,
game's
man.
world. Two Worlds features a large map with a variety of alternative feeling locations, all with of course their own quirky elements. The large city of Kudinar with its markets and statues, also featuring a fruit bowl portal to another dimension.
You scoundrels.
All the way to the Eastern-themed settlement of Ashos, whose NPCs are by far the most interesting, not only in their quests, but behavior.
What's going on there?
With the location even when being invaded by enemy forces, influencing its attackers to swap out their weapons for a broom in the heart of battle. Overlooking the oddities for a moment, Two Worlds for the time does well with its sound design, and some epic-looking tombs and locations. Wandering off to explore and delve into the game's various dungeons feels rewarding, not only for potential gear that may be uncovered, but getting a chance to see the environments on offer, and did at least for a time give me further reasons
Oh,
to
dude, I remember playing this game for the first time, and I got to this area. I was scared to go through this area in the game. I was so scared. Like, I don't know, something about it. Like, everything was burnt. Basically, everything's burnt down. There is a mist. You can't really see too far because of the mist. There could be literally anything in this area that can kill you. And I was completely afraid. After experiencing this area for the first time back then, every time I would replay the game from scratch, I would purposely avoid going to this area. And even now, I still feel uneasy going to this area, even while playing on PC. I have no idea why. Maybe it's the sense of the unknown, and you don't really fully know what's in there. Even though I played the game so many times, and I know what's in there, but it still freaks me out.
up and ride off in search of additional spells and to take in the sights. Further progression in Two Worlds is done via leveling and adding stat points into 3 disciplines.
Oh, dude, I love this, man. I love this. You have lock picking, swimming. You have pock picketing, trap setting, sneak, and then you have like the regular melee skills, range skills, and things like that. And you have 5 different types of magic. I think you have water, earth, air, water, earth, and fire. And then the 5th one is necromancy. And the necromancy is such an abusive skill because you can kill an NPC, you can bring them back to life. And then once you bring them back to life, they will completely run away from you because of what you've done. They will completely run away and you cannot interact with them. I would do that. I would do that so many times on the online portion because the solo game and the multiplayer are 2 different things, and that's what made the game so unique and in my opinion far better than Oblivion. But we'll get to that later if it does talk about that. But yeah, right, that's really cool. I feel like there's I feel like that right there, if you're talking about the area, could be certain some bosses there. Now, I would have to play the game over again to sort of figure out, but yeah, I used to be really freaked out by it. But yeah, those are all the skills. You have dexterity, health, strength, and willpower. Of course, willpower is for magic. Strength is for regular attack, but it also increases the amount that you can hold in your inventory. Of course, heart, health. I believe dexterity is for like how you use the weapons and things like that. I'm not quite sure. There's a lot of things that can go into this, really.
Tried and true strength, dexterity, and willpower for melee, ranged, and magic builds with a number of abilities, both passive and active, also available for each. Some of which feel more likely to get you killed, with a hilariously crap AoE melee attack, stacked up with abilities that feel insanely powerful, with the critical strikes absolutely destroying enemies. Which made
That's dexterity. I think dexterity was critical.
The game on the receiving end. Where to?
Dude, there's so many times where that happened to me, where I'm completely decked out with high armor, strong weapon, went up to this enemy, give him a good whack, they whack me back, I died. What is this game? We're reacting to a channel that is making a discussion or giving like the spotlight to an old RPG called Two Worlds. But yeah, that's basically what we're reacting to, what I'm talking about. It's an RPG. It's a very quirky, very funny RPG that came out during the age of Oblivion, during the age of Oblivion. But you see how this guy, you see how he had the fireball, and he has 2. You see the number 2 right there. You can stack magic, and if it's an offensive spell, it basically deals more damage. But if it's like a healing spell or like a defense spell, it will basically, amplifies the power of that spell. That's what I like. That's what I don't think Oblivion has done. I don't think Elder Scrolls has ever done that when it comes to their magic. But yeah, Two Worlds, that you can definitely do that. You can put in magic boosters as well, to where it deals way more damage, or it could use less mana. There is a certain point to where you can summon multiple at once. So if you have a skeleton archer that you can summon, if you do it right, you can summon multiple. You can literally summon a little army and they'll fight for you. That's the overpowerness of being a complete necromancy character, if you were to choose to go down that path and things like that.
World really excels is with its magic, with a huge amount of spells to seek out for 5 different schools. Summoning temporary companions to turn the tide of a battle, or burning and zapping your enemies with even additional augmentation spells to supercharge preferred modes of destruction. The magic for me being a driving force in exploration and completing quests, with the potential chance of gifting another magical ability to try out. RPG mainstays such as sneaking and stealing are available to level, with our hero going full-on goblin mode to sneak around and do a bit of pickpocketing, as well as having the option to use and craft various traps to use in combat.
What's interesting is that you have to learn. You have to go to someone that knows how to teach you how to use it, and you pay them to teach you how to use it. Like for certain, that goes for any skills in this game. It's almost similar to like Skyrim, to where I'm not sure if you can automatically learn something in Skyrim. I'm not quite sure. I haven't played Skyrim in years, so I don't really remember much about it, and I don't even know if Oblivion has something like that as well. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, please.
Some of which being quite powerful, and given the game can be quite hard at places at certain levels, add some more strategy to encounters. Just don't go leaving them lying around, as can easily lead to an unfortunate accident getting in the way of quest progress. Crafting does not stop at traps, as the player is also able to use the game's alchemy system to combine a whole host of ingredients to cook up some potions to boost stats.
Oh, that's another thing that I found. That's another thing that I forgot. You see these gems right here? These gems right here where you see my mouse cursor? You have ice, lightning, spirit, poison, fire, and I think that's all of the element. You can actually attach those stones to your weapon, not only that it would increase stats, but it will also, for example, if you find a fire gem, and you have a really good weapon that you want to keep, you can literally attach that fire gem to your weapon, and your weapon would do fire damage on top of all of the other stats that you got from combining the weapons together. And you can keep on giving it fire gems to constantly increase the elemental power that it has. So, and the thing is, whenever you fight an enemy or like an animal, specifically an animal or any other NPCs, or any other enemies at night, if you go back to that same area, their ghosts will appear. And what's really cool with that is, if you just hit it normally with a random weapon, it will not do as much damage. But if you shoot magic at it, or if you use a weapon that has some type of element to it, it will deal a lot of damage to the spirits. That what I find really cool, and I see that's another thing why I love Two World. I love this RPG.
A whole bunch of my time playing through the game, but it was nice to have nonetheless, and I'm sure hugely helpful on higher difficulties, and can also be leveled. As with a lot of RPGs, for me at least, the most fun is had when facing situations on the back foot, as leads to requiring a bit of planning and strategy over just steamrolling over camps and enemies. And with various combat styles, traps and spells, Two Worlds gives the player a lot of tools to do so. I even on a number of occasions kited a nearby group of wildlife or other types of enemies back to my targets of choice to mix things up and give me more chances of coming out on top. Overall, as I quickly started to suspect, I did enjoy my time finally playing through this game,
it's really
not all
cool.
for the reasons the developers intended. As a contender amongst the early 2000s RPGs, Two Worlds for me, like many others at the time, feels very middle of the road. There are some standout elements such as the game's magic system, as well as its replayability and exploration, but for every exceptional element there was almost always something there to either make me facepalm, such as the game's script.
They could catch a cold. Here is your cold. Gold.
I thank you.
Or a technical issue that sapped me out of all the
It was so cliche, honestly.
I'd like to know who killed him.
What? Well, you're quite right, buddy. At this point, I have no words either. The game does not even come close to having as much charm as something like Oblivion, or a notable soundtrack to give.
Here's where I disagree. It has a lot of charm. It has its own charm that is, in my opinion, the same amount of charm that Oblivion has. And there's one thing that this game does have that's above Oblivion, and I'll get to that later.
The experience for the character, but the ridiculous choice for the voice of the hero and other characters, the utter insanity of some of the NPCs, and just the frequency of moments that took me completely by surprise and had me doubled over laughing, along with some of its stronger RPG elements, did make it an enjoyable playthrough even today.
Yeah, it's a really good game, man. In my opinion, it's a really good game. This game is huge.
Two Worlds kept me engaged by wondering and trying to foresee just what might happen next, either within the parameters of reality or not. A considerable more amount of RPG features than titles such as Fable, but with a fraction of the charm. Without a shadow of a doubt, truly one of the most unintentionally funny experiences I've encountered, and for me at least on par with Oblivion's reputation for it, if not for a range of additional reasons. More than likely made all the better when in the game's multiplayer mode. I can't help but feel the Two Worlds being the perfect name for this RPG. Epically riding off into
the multiplayer is what made it so much better.
Thank you so much for watching. Have you played
the multiplayer? What made it so much better, because in the multiplayer you can create your own character specifically for the multiplayer, and you can go up to like 8 players, literally 8 players in one world in a specific region of the map, because since the map is so big, they can't just allow you and 7 other players to just roam around in that gigantic place. It's gonna be too much. So what they did was they cut it off to different sections. So you can have, you can do the beginning stages of the game to where it's all easy. And it even says it there. It even says like the area name and the difficulty of the area. And there's like easy, medium, and hard. And each stuff, and each of them would have a totally different generated generated enemies and loot and monsters and stuff like that. I remember back then people were duplicating these potions that would automatically just increase you and you be overpowered. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you for stopping by. I really do appreciate it, man. I really do love the fact that you stayed here and chat with me, man. But yeah, have a good night, man. Have a good night. But the thing is with that, a lot of people would like duplicate a lot of stuff. And I got to a point where I was so overpowered on the multiplayer aspect that I would just one-shot everything. Even the hardest monsters, I would one-shot them. I remember there was another part to where you go to the beginning, you go to one of the easy maps, then all of a sudden a huge dragon will appear in that map, and I'll just kill it in one hit. But most of the time I'm mostly just killing everything, resurrecting them, and then making a huge army for myself. And it's really cool, really fun. That I can see why it has a cult following, because it basically made its own. It's a whole experience on its own. Playing solo, playing the actual game with the story, and then playing it separate when you go online. It's two separate worlds, and they both have a very interesting aspect to them, man. Very interesting aspect to them, which is why like I really do appreciate that even though this video is a year old, I do appreciate how not only he gave his opinions that, you know, it's not the best, but it's definitely hilarious, and it's unintentionally on why it's hilarious. But yeah, but